If you've ever watched your whole life unravel from the inside out, quietly, slowly, then all at once, then you'll understand how this starts. I wasn't looking for drama. I was trying to be the good ex-wife. Graceful, civil, maybe even still likable. But grace doesn't protect you from betrayal. It just makes you easier to deceive. 3 months ago, my ex-husband asked for a favor. Just 2 weeks, he said. He'd found a new apartment, but the lease started late. He needed to stay at our old house temporarily. Our house. The one I got in the divorce. The one I stayed in so our son could have consistency. 2 weeks, maybe less. He'd sleep in the guest room. Nothing would change. I agreed, because that's who I was. Because co-parenting is a lie that only works when one person is still willing to bleed quietly. His name is Caleb. We were married for 7 years, together for 10. We met freshman year of college in Boston. He was the guy who always fixed everyone's printer in the dorm, and I was the girl crying over my FAFSA paperwork. He helped me that day. I baked him cookies in return. That's how we started. By the end, we barely spoke unless it was about our son, Milo. He's 6 now, loves dinosaurs, jelly beans, and asks, why? About everything. I stayed in the house so he wouldn't have to shuttle between apartments like a suitcase. Caleb agreed to joint custody, but we both knew I was doing the heavy lifting. I always did. The first few days after he moved in temporarily were fine. Awkward, but fine. He was polite. We coordinated kid pickups. He stayed out of the way. I thought, stupidly, naively, that maybe we were evolving into the mythical, healthy co-parents Instagram therapists rave about. But then things got strange. It started with the shampoo. I use a very specific kind, lavender-scented, sulfate-free, costs way too much at Target. One day I came into the shower and there were 2 new bottles on the ledge. Not travel-sized, full-sized, raspberry-scented, some brand I didn't recognize. I ignored it. Thought maybe Caleb brought them from his gym bag. Then I found a toothbrush in the downstairs bathroom. Pink, clearly used. Still, I said nothing. Because what would I even say? Then came the night I came home late from work. I work in marketing, nothing fancy, just a local agency downtown. I had a pitch meeting that ran long. It was 9:30 p.m. when I walked in. There were 2 glasses of wine on the coffee table. One had lipstick on the rim, and a black leather purse sat on the couch. That's when it hit me. A little late, maybe, but it hit hard. I didn't say anything that night either. I didn't see anyone, but someone had clearly been there. 2 days later, I saw her. She came out of the bathroom in my bathrobe. My bathrobe. The robe my sister gave me after I gave birth. The one with the stitched initials. She didn't even flinch. Just looked at me like I was the intruder. Said, "Oh, hey, I thought you were at work." That was it. That was the moment. Not when she smiled. Not when she called me by name. Not even when she said she and Caleb had been talking about maybe painting the kitchen a softer white. No. It was the robe. I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I just went cold. Inside. I walked into my bedroom, locked the door, and texted Caleb. Me. Did you seriously move your girlfriend in without telling me? I watched the text go from delivered to read to nothing. No reply, just 3 blinking dots that disappeared. Then silence. That night, I slept with my purse under my pillow. Let me rewind for a second, because I know this sounds unhinged. Maybe you're thinking, why didn't she kick him out the second she saw the wine glasses? Good question. The answer is layered, like all betrayals. First, the house technically was mine, but the mortgage was still half in his name. Until I refinanced, we were in this gray area. Legal enough for him to argue he had a right to be there. Add to that the fact that we were in a friendly divorce, no restraining orders, no lawyers breathing down our necks. Then there was Milo. If I escalated things, he'd be the one caught in the middle. Again. And I was so damn tired of dragging him through emotional whiplash. So I waited. until I had proof, until I could get him out clean. The next morning, Caleb acted like nothing happened. He poured coffee, asked me if I needed a ride to work. I stared at him like he was a stranger. Because honestly, he was. Somewhere between college and now, he'd become someone I wouldn't trust with a houseplant. I asked him, quietly, who she was. He said her name was Bryn. She worked at the same tech startup as him. They'd been seeing each other a few months. She was staying over occasionally, because her apartment lease ended early, and she was looking for a new place. A few months. He moved in 3 weeks ago. Do the math. He asked me not to make this weird, said it was temporary. I stared at him, then at the coffee pot, then back at him, and I laughed. Out loud. Not because it was funny, but because if I didn't laugh, I might actually cry in front of him. And I'd already done enough of that during the divorce. Do you want me to go? He asked finally, voice low. I said, I want you both gone. He looked wounded, as if I'd just betrayed him. But then he said the thing that broke whatever shred of patience I had left. She's pregnant. The words didn't make sense at first. I blinked. What? She's 6 weeks along. We weren't planning it. But, yeah. I walked out of the kitchen, walked straight to the bathroom, vomited into the sink. That weekend I called my sister. Her name's Tasha. She's a nurse. No filter, no frills. She was the one who helped me file for divorce when I found the dating apps on Caleb's phone last year. Back then, I thought that was the betrayal. Turns out, that was just the trailer. Tasha came over Sunday afternoon. We sat on the porch, iced coffees in hand, while Bryn painted her nails on my patio chair. She's nesting, Tasha muttered. She's invading, I replied. We hatched a plan, because I wasn't going to explode. I was going to evict, legally, calmly, permanently. I started by emailing the mortgage broker. Got the refinancing paperwork started that week. It would take a few weeks, but once approved, Caleb's name would be off the deed. That was step 1. Step 2. I began documenting everything. Photos of her car in the driveway, voicemail timestamps, texts from Caleb confirming she was staying over. I even started recording audio at night. Subtle, silent clips of their conversations drifting through the hallway. Not because I was paranoid, because I needed backup. In the meantime, I kept my head down. Let them think I was spineless. Let them play house in my house. Let her hang her coat in my closet. Let him pretend nothing was wrong. Because step 3 was coming. And step 3 would make them wish they never underestimated me. The first night I truly lost it wasn't the night I found out she was pregnant. It was the night she threw a baby shower planning Zoom on our Wi-Fi. I came home early from work that day. We'd just landed a new client at the agency, a sustainable baby brand, ironically, and I wanted to surprise Milo with the new coloring book the creative team had made. It had dinosaurs in rain boots. He'd love it. I pulled into the driveway and saw her car. Again, not parked to the side like a guest. Right in the middle like she owned the place. When I stepped inside, the house was filled with voices. Women laughing. Someone calling out, "Oh my God, Bryn, that onesie is so cute!" I thought she had guests over. I was wrong. She was in the living room, perched on my velvet armchair, a baby registry page open on her iPad, and a ring light casting a fake glamorous glow on her face. Her belly barely showed, but she had her hand rested on it like a woman on the cover of a maternity catalog. Behind her, Milo's backpack had been tossed on the floor. His sneakers kicked under the coffee table. The coloring book slipped from my hands. I picked it up slowly, silently. She didn't notice I was there, but one of the women on the Zoom did. "Wait, is someone else in your house?" she asked. Bryn turned, saw me. "Oh," she said breezily, brushing her hair over her shoulder. That's Caleb's son's mom. Caleb's son's mom, not his ex-wife, not the homeowner. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't being tolerated. I was being replaced. Slowly. One item, one narrative, one cheap raspberry shampoo bottle at a time. I walked out without saying a word, locked myself in the downstairs laundry room, closed the door, let the humming dryer drown me. And I cried. Ugly, heaving, forehead to your knees sobbing. But only for 5 minutes. Then I opened my notes app and added another entry. 5:52 p.m. Bryn referred to me as Caleb's son's mom, on video call in our living room. Documentation, not drama. That was my mantra now. 2 weeks later, Caleb started pushing boundaries. It was subtle at first. A mug left in the sink after I'd cleaned the kitchen. Accidentally setting Milo's bedtime later on nights, it was clearly my parenting turn. Quietly replacing my oat milk with 2%, knowing I'm lactose intolerant. Then came the day he rearranged the bedroom. Not my bedroom. The guest room. His room. I walked in to grab a set of spare sheets and saw a framed ultrasound picture on the nightstand. 2 mugs on the dresser. And a nightgown draped across the back of the chair. Not mine. Bryn's. She was no longer staying over. She was living here, fully, boldly, silently, like mold growing behind the walls. I confronted Caleb that night when Milo was asleep. We stood in the kitchen, fluorescent light buzzing above us, between the fridge hum and the click of the broken oven timer. I kept my voice low. "You said 2 weeks." He shrugged. "We're still figuring things out." "You said she was just staying over." "She doesn't have anywhere else live." I flinched when he said my name. He hadn't called me that in months. I asked him to sit down. He did. Then I told him calmly, "You need to move out. Both of you. End of this month." He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just smiled. This slow, smirking little tilt of his mouth. The one I used to think was charming when he beat me at Scrabble. "You think you can kick us out?" he said. "I don't think. I know. I'm on the mortgage. Not for long." That smile slipped a little then. He stood up, muttering something about ungrateful and crazy. I didn't follow. I just waited until I heard the guest room door click shut. Then I opened my phone, typed a new entry in the notes app. 9:44 p.m. Caleb admitted Bryn has no other place to stay. Still refuses to leave. Then I sent a copy to Tasha. She replied in all caps. "You ready to finish this or what?" I didn't want to involve a lawyer. I truly didn't. But after Bryn started moving boxes into the garage and labeled one nursery supplies, I knew they were planning to stay long term. I couldn't let that happen. My sister connected me with a woman named Marlene. She wasn't flashy, didn't wear designer suits. She had silver braids and carried legal pads instead of tablets. But she listened. When I showed her the evidence I'd been collecting, texts, receipts, timestamps, she nodded slowly and said the magic words. "This is enough. Enough to file a formal notice. Enough to initiate eviction proceedings. Enough to finally get them out." We started the process that same week. I didn't tell Caleb right away. Let them live in their fantasy for a few more days. Let her hang a wreath on the front door. Let him install a smart speaker in the kitchen. Let her buy a rocking chair off Facebook Marketplace and place it in the hallway. Let them dream. Then the letter arrived. Certified mail. Official envelope. I made sure to be home when he opened it. His face changed. Completely. Like a mask slipping. "You're evicting me?" "I'm evicting her. And you? By association. You can't do this." "I already did." Bryn came downstairs halfway through. "Babe, what's wrong?" He handed her the letter. She skimmed it. Eyes wide. Then narrowed. "She can't kick us out." I smiled for the first time in weeks. She already is. That night, Caleb tried one last power play. He waited until I was doing dishes, Milo asleep upstairs, and Bryn conveniently out for prenatal yoga. He came up behind me, quiet, then leaned in and whispered, "You think you're winning, but you're just bitter. No one wants to be with someone who weaponizes kindness." I froze. Soapy hands in the sink. Water dripping. Then I said, calm and clear, I'm not weaponizing kindness. I'm just done playing dead. He stared at me, really stared, then walked out without another word. 2 days later, I found the final nail. Not a metaphor. An actual nail. In the tire of my car. I was already running late for Milo's dentist appointment. The dashboard lit up. Low pressure. I stepped out, circled the car, and there it was. Metal glinting from the sidewall. I don't know for sure it was them, but the timing? Let's just say my patience collapsed faster than the air in that tire. I called my sister. Tasha showed up in 30 minutes. Not with a new tire, but with a moving van. That weekend, we rented a storage unit. Packed up every single thing that didn't belong to me or Milo. Every baby bottle, every tech bro hoodie, every maternity pillow, every faux marble candle holder she'd brought into my space. Gone. I labeled the boxes "Return to Sender." Tasha added a smiley face on one. We left them in the driveway. I changed the Wi-Fi password, deleted their Netflix profile, switched the Nest settings, unlinked Caleb's Spotify from the smart speaker. I stopped being nice, because nice women get erased. I was done being erased. The night before they moved out, I sat on the back porch. Milo was asleep. Tasha had gone home. The air smelled like honeysuckle and something faintly metallic. Bryn came out quietly. She sat on the opposite chair. No robe this time. Just a hoodie that said, "Tech Moms Rock." We sat in silence for a minute. Then she said softly, "I didn't know he was still living with you when we started." I didn't reply. She continued, "He told me you were crazy, that you cheated first, that you were emotionally manipulative." Still, I said nothing. Then she whispered, "He said you didn't want more kids, that you hated being a mom." That one stung. Not because I cared what she believed, but because he knew exactly where to aim. Finally, I turned to her. "You think he won't do the same to you?" Her eyes flickered, and for the first time, I saw it. The crack. Maybe she knew, maybe she didn't, but that seed of doubt? It was there now. And I didn't have to say another word. The morning they moved out, I made pancakes. Not as a celebration. Not to gloat. It was for Milo. Because all he knew was that Daddy and Miss Bryn are going to a new house. He didn't know about eviction notices, or prenatal yoga lies, or ultrasound photos staged like emotional weapons. He just wanted chocolate chip pancakes and his favorite blue cup with the cracked handle. So I gave him that, even if my hands trembled while flipping the last batch. Even if I could hear Caleb dragging boxes downstairs while Bryn laughed on speakerphone with her mom. Even if I wanted to scream. I didn't. I smiled, buttered the pancakes, sat down across from my son and told him he could help me pick a new color for the front door next weekend. Something bright. Something loud. He said neon green. I said we'd compromise. They left around noon. Caleb didn't say goodbye. He barely looked at me. Just loaded the last box into his SUV and drove off with Bryn in the passenger seat, her sunglasses too big for her face, a sun hat tilted like she was headed to Coachella instead of a Craigslist apartment he probably promised was temporary. I stood on the porch, watched the car turn the corner, and waited. Waited for the grief to come, for the regret, for the loneliness to flood in. It didn't. What came instead? Silence. Peaceful, steady, strange. The kind of silence you don't realize you've been craving until it wraps around you like a weighted blanket. That weekend, I rearranged the furniture, moved the couch to the other side of the room, got rid of the armchair Bryn claimed, donated it to the shelter. Milo helped me sweep the hallway and picked out new plastic dinosaurs to line the windowsill. We blasted music while we worked. Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa, even old Rihanna tracks from college. Milo danced with a broom. I danced with a hammer. I finally took down the floating shelf Caleb insisted on putting up crooked and filled the holes with spackle. When we were done, I lit a lavender candle. The good kind. The expensive one I always saved for special occasions. This felt special, like a reclamation. But peace has a way of wearing thin when you realize it's covering a fault line. 3 weeks after they left, I got an email. Subject line: custody schedule adjustment request from Caleb. Of course, the body of the email was cold, legalistic, probably written with help. Hi, Olivia. Given the new circumstances and upcoming changes in our household, I'd like to propose a new custody schedule. Bryn and I feel it would be beneficial for Milo to start spending more time at our new residence to acclimate to his siblings' arrival. We're requesting 2 additional overnights per week, plus alternating Sundays. Let us know your thoughts. Your thoughts. As if this was a group project. As if I hadn't just surgically removed them from my home. As if he hadn't lied, gaslit, and manipulated me for months and now expected me to clap politely because he upgraded his delusion to blended family fantasy. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I opened my private group chat with Tasha and 2 other single moms from Milo's daycare, Becca and Simone. I dropped a screenshot. Tasha replied first. Tasha: is he f***ing serious? Becca: that's not a request. That's a trap. Simone: girl, document everything. Don't let this be informal. They were right. I didn't reply to Caleb. I replied to my lawyer. Marlene read the email and chuckled. This is exactly why we file custody agreements formally, she said. I asked what my options were. She laid them out in plain English. I could refuse the change entirely, or I could negotiate supervised visitation during the adjustment period. Or if I suspected neglect, instability, or manipulation, I could pursue a formal custody modification hearing. The problem was, I had no proof of anything new. The pregnancy wasn't a crime. Moving in his girlfriend wasn't against the agreement. Being a selfish, manipulative ex wasn't grounds for losing parenting rights. I'd have to wait. Gather more. And then came the break I didn't expect. It started with Milo's drawing. One Monday after daycare, he brought home a picture. It had 2 stick figures, a man and a woman, with a smaller stick figure between them. The adults had sad faces. The kid had a speech bubble. I don't want to go. I looked at him. What's this, buddy? He shrugged. That's me at Daddy's house. Why don't you want to go? He bit his lip. They fight a lot. Bryn cries. Daddy yells. She says he's mean when no one's looking. I froze. Tried to keep my voice calm. Do they ever yell at you? He shook his head fast. No, but I hear them. Later that night, when he was asleep, I recorded myself reading the incident aloud. Not as evidence for court, but for me. Because part of me still doubted myself. I played it back once, then added a timestamp. 7:41 p.m. Milo says Bryn and Caleb fight regularly. Bryn cries a lot. The next day, I told Marlene. She didn't say much, just asked if I was ready to play offense instead of defense. I was. Over the next few weeks, more cracks appeared. One afternoon, I got a call from Milo's school. Hi, Ms. Evans. Just a heads up. We had some confusion today about pickup. Your ex's partner came 30 minutes early and didn't have proper ID. Bryn. She wasn't authorized. I never added her to the list. I arrived 10 minutes later to find Bryn standing awkwardly in the school office, holding her belly, trying to explain that she just wanted to surprise Milo with ice cream. The secretary wasn't amused. Neither was I. I took Milo's hand and walked straight past her. She didn't say a word, but her eyes followed me all the way to the parking lot. The next day, Caleb sent a scathing text. Caleb, 3:12 p.m. Real classy yesterday. You could have at least let her say hi. Milo was excited. Me, 3:14 p.m. She's not on the pickup list. That's not my fault. That's yours. Caleb, 3:15 p.m. You're so controlling, it's pathetic. Me, 3:18 p.m. Call it control. I call it protecting our son. I sent the full thread to Marlene. She said it was admissible. Then came the voicemail. It was left at 1:07 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was asleep. But the next morning, I saw the red dot blinking on my phone. It was Bryn. Her voice was slurred. tired, emotional. I know you hate me. I get it. But you need to know Caleb left tonight. He got mad about something and just walked out. I'm fine. The baby's fine. But Milo doesn't need to see this. I'm sorry. My stomach dropped. Milo wasn't with them that night. But he could have been. And I realized in that moment, I wasn't just co-parenting with a liar. I was co-parenting with a ticking time bomb. The voicemail kept playing long after it ended. In my head, I mean. The flatness of Bryn's voice. The helpless tilt to her words. The phrase, Caleb left tonight. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in my hand, sheets twisted around my legs like a crime scene. The sun hadn't even come up, but I already knew what I was going to do. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about Milo. About not waking up one day to a call saying he'd seen his father throw something, scream something, or worse, become something he couldn't unsee. By 9 a.m., I had the voicemail transcribed, labeled, and sent to Marlene. By noon, the motion for a custody modification was filed. I didn't hear from Caleb for 2 days after that. Total silence. Then, like clockwork, the blame came flying in. Caleb, 8:11 p.m. I can't believe you'd stoop this low. You've been waiting for us to fail. Caleb, 8:12 p.m. This isn't about Milo. This is about your ego. Caleb, 8:13 p.m. You're using our son as a pawn and it's disgusting. I didn't respond. Because it was about Milo. And I was done letting Caleb rewrite the story to suit his guilt. The court date was set for 4 weeks out. During that time, I documented everything. Every time Caleb was late to a pickup. Every time Milo said he didn't want to go. Every time Bryn posted something vaguely chaotic on her Instagram stories. A wine glass, a cryptic quote, a selfie with her belly and the caption, "Some men really don't deserve fatherhood." It painted a picture. Not a dramatic one. A real one. The kind judges pay attention to. Still, I was terrified. Because court is unpredictable. Because Caleb knew how to cry when he needed to. Because people like him count on the world giving them the benefit of the doubt. The night before court, Milo couldn't sleep. He kept tossing and turning, mumbling about a dream where his dinosaur toys got broken. I rubbed his back, hummed softly, watched the numbers on the baby monitor climb past midnight. At 1:04 a.m., I got another voicemail. This time from Bryn. Again. I just wanted you to know. Caleb won't be at court tomorrow. He left again. Took some stuff, said he needed space. I don't know if he's coming back. But you should be prepared. I think he's going to try to flip everything on you. There was a pause. Then, for what it's worth, I think you're a better mom than I ever gave you credit for. Click. The courtroom was cold. Not just the temperature, though it was freezing, but the energy. Sterile. Tense. Caleb showed up late. Hair messy. Tie crooked. No Bryn in sight. He tried to play it cool. Smiled at the judge. Called me Olivia with a tone like we were old friends sharing a joke. It didn't work. Marlene laid it out calmly, fact by fact. The eviction. The unauthorized pickups. The voicemail. The social media posts. The late arrivals. The emotional volatility. The instability of a new baby in a chaotic household. Then she played the recording. The courtroom went silent. Bryn's voice echoed through the speakers, tinny and tired. Milo doesn't need to see this. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't cry. I looked the judge straight in the eye and said, I don't care if Caleb hates me. I care that my son wakes up in a house where he knows love is calm and safe and not something that disappears overnight. That's all I want. The judge asked Caleb if he had anything to say. He started to talk, stumbled, then went silent. And for the first time in years, I saw him deflate. The mask cracked. Custody was adjusted that day. I got primary residential custody, full decision-making rights. Caleb would have supervised visitation for the next 90 days, pending a review. I walked out of that courtroom with papers in my hand and freedom in my chest. And yet, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt sad. Not for Caleb. For the girl I used to be. The one who believed she could keep a family stitched together by swallowing her own voice. A week later, I got a knock on my door. It was Bryn. No makeup, no sunglasses. Just her. Holding a paper grocery bag and wearing exhaustion like perfume. "I'm not here to fight," she said quickly. "I just wanted to return a few things. And say something." I let her speak. She set the bag down. It had 2 of Milo's books, 1 of his dinosaur socks, and the bath toy he'd left behind in their tub. Then she looked me dead in the eye. "I think he lied to both of us, and I don't know what I'm going to do now, but if I ever become the mom I want to be, I hope I do it with the kind of strength you have." It didn't fix anything, but it settled something in me. We weren't friends. We never would be. But I saw her now, not as the villain in my story, but as another woman who got caught in his. That night, I told Milo a bedtime story. A made-up one, about a brave little fox and a sneaky wolf who tried to steal his den. The fox fought smart, not loud, used his wit, not his teeth, and in the end, he reclaimed the forest. Not with claws, but with courage. Milo liked that one. He asked if the fox was me. I said yes. He grinned and said, "Can we paint the front door orange like a fox?" I smiled. Maybe we could. 3 months later, Caleb filed a motion to regain joint custody. It came with no warning. I got the envelope on a Thursday. Plain manila. My name spelled wrong on the label. Inside, 5 stapled pages of legalese, a formal request for a custody reevaluation, and a note stating that significant lifestyle improvements have been made, and co-parenting potential is high. High, apparently, now that he had his life cleaned up again. That's how he saw it. A resume. A checklist. Clean apartment? Check. New job? Check. Stable relationship? Again? Check. Suddenly, he thought he deserved full parental reset. But healing isn't a spreadsheet. And stability doesn't come in 90-day packaging. I didn't panic. Because this time, I knew what to do. I didn't cry. I didn't rage text Tasha. I didn't even respond right away. I took a day, read it again, and again. Highlighted the vague parts, made coffee, set up a meeting with Marlene. She read the documents quietly, flipping the pages like she already knew what was coming. "He's banking on performance," she said. "What does that mean?" She looked at me over her glasses. "It means he thinks court is theater, and he's playing the redemption arc." I laughed bitterly. Guess that makes me the villain now. Marlene leaned back in her chair. "Only if the judge buys the script." Meanwhile, Caleb started doing damage control. The kind of subtle PR campaign exes run when they know they've messed up and think spin can fix it. He started posting staged photos with Milo, pancake breakfasts, coloring books, fun dad weekend vibes, hashtags. All curated for Instagram. He even tagged me in a Hatch co-parenting goals post I hadn't agreed to. Then came the messages from mutual friends. "Hey, Caleb said you guys are in a better place? I heard you're letting him have more time with Milo? Did he really get a promotion at that tech firm?" It was like watching someone paint a mural over mold. Bright colors, big smiles, all built on rot. Bryn never reappeared. Not online, not in real life. I checked her socials once. Nothing new since the baby was born. No announcements, no couple photos. Just a single post with a quote that read, "Healing isn't linear, and sometimes letting go is the bravest thing we do." I never knew what that meant for them. Maybe she left. Maybe she stayed. But I stopped wondering, because I had my own life to reclaim. I painted the front door. Milo and I picked the color together. It wasn't orange like he wanted. It wasn't neon green like he first begged for. It was coral. Soft, strong, bright enough to be noticed, but not enough to overwhelm. We painted it on a Saturday afternoon with cheap brushes and a playlist of songs from our bedtime routine. When we finished, he stood back and said, "It looks like the sky when it's happy." And I thought, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. The new court date was set for mid-May. I gathered everything, Not just the receipts, voicemails, texts, but progress reports, teacher notes, daycare sign-ins, Milo's therapy feedback. He'd started seeing a child counselor once a month to talk about the transition. All of it pointed to one thing: stability matters more than biology. And I was the stable one. Caleb showed up to court wearing a tie I bought him 5 years ago. He tried to smile at me in the hallway. I didn't return it. Bryn wasn't with him. I'm not sure if that helped or hurt his case. He told the judge about his new apartment, his job, his personal growth. I told the judge about consistency, about bedtime routines and missed pickups, about the voicemail, about the way Milo flinches when plans change too fast. And then I said this: co-parenting isn't just about equal time. It's about equal trust. And I'm not asking the court to punish him. I'm asking you to protect my son's peace. The judge deliberated for 2 hours, then came back with a ruling. I kept primary custody. Supervised visits would extend into the summer. Any adjustments would require a third-party family therapist's sign-off. Caleb didn't speak to me afterward, just gathered his folder and walked out. I stood in the empty courtroom for a moment after, breathing, not smiling, not gloating, just breathing. Because that's what healing is, not a headline, not a victory lap, just quiet, steady breath. A week later, Milo asked if he could bring cupcakes to school for his birthday. Of course, I said. What kind? Chocolate, with coral frosting. I blinked. Coral? Like the front door, he said. That's my favorite color now. I made them from scratch, and I cried while I piped the frosting. Not because I was sad, but because I was proud. Of me. Of him. Of everything we survived. One night, after Milo fell asleep, I opened my camera roll, scrolled past old photos, Caleb's smile, Bryn's robe in the background, the hallway shelf that never hung straight. I deleted most of them, not out of anger, but because that chapter is over. Because the woman who took those pictures isn't me anymore. And the woman I am now, she doesn't need reminders of what she endured to believe in what she's built. This story wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming. A house, a child, a voice. It was about drawing a boundary not with barbed wire, but with paint and pancakes and coral frosting. It was about making peace louder than betrayal. And maybe, just maybe, it was about reminding other women like me. You don't have to scream to be heard. You just have to stay standing. Was Caleb ever really trying to change? Or was he just trying to look better than the last time he left? Let me know what you think in the comments.